Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I just need to start off by saying how thankful I am to be here today. I flew in from Dallas yesterday, and I think every person that I've talked to so far have told me that we're so proud of our city, and you have all reasons to be. I mean, look at this. I'm amazed. And we're here today to support Julie Valentine Center. We're here to give other people hope, to help victims become survivors. I am here to share my story of overcoming. So I need to start off by giving a little bit about my background. I am from Norway, grew up with my family and friends in Norway. Norway, that's a country where physical activity and outdoor activities, that's important to us. We have this saying, you might have heard it, babies in Norway, they're born with skis on their feet. It's not far from the truth. I mean, as soon as we can stand up straight, we're placed on top of skis, and we're just expected to fly across those fields. And that's basically what I did. By the time I was 2 years old, I started skiing. By the time I was 3 years old, I started competing. And since that day, I've been a competitive athlete. And as I grew older, that became a big part of my life. That was my big passion. And I did pretty well. I got to represent Norway in several international competitions. And because of that, one day, I suddenly received this phone call from Dallas, Texas. A coach at Southern Methodist University called me and offered me a scholarship to come and represent his team. And to me, that was just a dream come true. To be able to go to the United States, to follow my dream to become a professional runner. I told him right away, count on me, I'm coming. And with that phone call, the decision was made. I was going to move to Dallas. Dallas. Well, at least I knew that Dallas, that was a city where people were riding horses in the streets with big fancy hats on. I had seen that on that TV show Dallas that my parents used to watch like every Sunday as I was growing up. Okay, let's be honest, I didn't know much about this place that I was moving to. But I knew that I was going there to follow my dream to become a professional runner. And that's all that I needed to know. So as I arrived in Dallas, I have to admit that it was quite a transition. It was. Everything was different. Everything was so big. The billboards, the roads, campus. How would I ever find my way around? I was lost. And it didn't make it any easier that I didn't want to talk to anyone because I was so embarrassed about my English at that point. But then again, it didn't take me long to realize that Dallas, not a good place to be if you don't want to talk to people. Everyone talked to me. So as I learned to open up and actually talk to people, I felt like I transitioned into a new way of life, and I really started to enjoy it. People were friendly. I got a lot of new friends. I kept running, followed my dream, and on top of all of that, the end of my freshman year, I fell in love. So life was pretty good. College bubble. And we did well in cross country and track. We won conference championship 2 years in a row. I had a good time. But by the end of my sophomore year, something strange happened. I was in love, and one night I was over at my boyfriend's apartment and we watched a movie together. Normally, we didn't have any serious conversation. It was all just fun, happy, young couple. But that night, he looked at me in a way that made me understand that he was worried about something. And as I was about to walk back home to my apartment that night, he took a hold of my hands and he asked me, Monika, have you heard about the girl from our school that's been raped? I had heard about that. Everyone had heard about that. And it was so sad, and we just didn't want to think about it. A girl from our school? Rape, to me, at that time, that was something we just heard about in the media. Something that happened far from away in a different world, not in that perfect place that we lived. But it was reality. It had happened. And my boyfriend, he was worried about me. So he told me that I want to follow you back home. I lived right across the street from him. So I just told him, you don't have to do that. If someone would come after me, I would hit them, I would kick them, and I would run off. I mean, he knew that I was a runner. It makes me absolutely sick to think about how I responded to that now. This is me, 2 weeks later, in the hospital, after the worst night of my life. This happens here in the world that we live. It happened to me. And I wish that I could say here today that I was the only rape victim in the United States that night. But if that night was like any other average night, I was only one out of 1,871 rape victims every day in the United States alone. While I was laying there in the hospital, all I could think was this: what now? What will my life look like after this? Will I ever be the same? Will I ever be able to smile again? But on my way home from the hospital that next morning, I realized that I had just been given my life back as a present. I had just been given a second chance. I would be able to see my parents, my sister, my friends again. And with that in mind, I was able to make the decision that morning that I wouldn't let this ruin my life. I would move on. I did not know how long it would take, how much effort it would take. I didn't know what to expect from life after something like this. But I knew that I'd been given my life back as a present, and I was willing to travel the journey of healing. I want to share with you here today the 5 elements that was key to my healing process: openness, hope, justice, passion, and forgiveness. Openness. As soon as I came home from the hospital that morning, I realized to be able to overcome this, I'm going to need help. That said, to pick up that phone and call my parents, I think that's the hardest thing that I ever done. I picked up the phone, I dialed their number over and over, and I tried to think about a good way of telling them so that it wouldn't sound so bad. But is there really any good way to tell parents about something like this? I knew that I just had to tell them the truth. So I did, worried